Module 5. When men say, "I'm just not ready." Key lesson: a man will ignore the desires of his heart in order to achieve an identity he can feel proud of. The most common reason a man gives a woman for not committing to the relationship is, "I'm just not ready." Let's take a look at what that really means. When a man says he's not ready, it's because his instincts have hardwired him to go another direction. He's going in the direction of achieving a sense of purpose through accomplishments. He's going after accomplishments that will make him feel like he is worthy of respect. What these accomplishments look like change over the span of a man's development. Alison Armstrong, a gifted marriage seminar leader, uses a metaphor to explain the developmental phases men go through. Her metaphor is that of a knight, a prince, and a king. Both psychological and hormonal factors influence the path a man takes from the knight phase to the prince phase, and finally to the king phase of the male experience. Dr. Luann Brizendine, the founder of the first clinic in the U.S. to study gender differences in brain, behavior, and hormones, has noted many DNA-driven hormone changes in men across their lifespan. Both social pressure and DNA influence the things a man feels driven to do at any given phase of his life. As boys begin the process of maturing into men during adolescence, they enter the knight phase. This phase of a man's life lasts well into his mid to late 20s. It is a phase of life when his instincts drive him toward adventure. Very often, that adventure includes the pursuit of fun. A man in the knight phase is very fun to date, but he is not ready to settle down with a serious commitment. That's because a knight's primary motivation is freedom so that he can pursue all kinds of new life experiences and adventures. During the knight phase, a man will pursue you with passion, show you a good time, and be highly energetic, but he won't have the slightest clue why you or anyone else would want to give up the party and adventure he feels compelled to seek. Freedom to explore is his number one motivation. When he enters the prince phase, his primary motivation shifts with the sudden realization that he has not yet built anything of significance in his life. It's as if the spell is broken and he realizes he does not want to be a party animal forever. His focus suddenly becomes about making his mark in the world so that he can one day bask in the glory of what he has achieved. His primary motivation becomes building something that proves his worth. He realizes he must leave behind free-spirited adventure and do something significant. At the onset of the prince phase, he may be in his late 20s or even mid-30s. The speed of maturation and change is different for each man. As the prince phase of a man's life draws to a close, he feels he has succeeded at providing and has accomplished quite a lot. The prince phase of a man's life can vary from 10 years to 25 years, depending on how many times he changes course in his career and attempts to build something meaningful. But at some point, he will enter what society typically calls a midlife crisis. The midlife crisis happens when he has achieved enough success and momentum to take his nose off the grindstone long enough to look at who he has become and where he's going. He starts to think seriously about the legacy he wants to leave behind. He realizes it's time to let go of some of the dreams he thought he might one day return to. He simultaneously experiences a strong need to define himself and what he really stands for. This is the process by which a man moves from the prince phase into the phase that Alison Armstrong has aptly named the king phase. And here's the key difference between the prince and king phases. Once he reaches the king phase, he wants to center his life on a few principles that reflect his strong opinions about what matters. He becomes less flexible in many ways because the process of wrestling with who he will become during the midlife crisis ends with the decision to stand for something, and what he stands for is deeply connected to his sense of identity. Women also commit to things that have a sense of identity based on a range of things they commit their life to, but during the king phase, this is a much stronger, cemented sort of phenomenon for men. That's because he defines himself based on the small number of things he decides ultimately matter in his life. You see, he is still trying to win at life, and he tries to win by refocusing his life on only the things that will truly matter in his legacy he leaves behind. Another key distinction about the king phase of a man's life is the focus he puts on giving to others and enjoying the fruits of his labor. He becomes very interested in giving of his time and financial resources, and he wants to be appreciated for his ability to provide. Rejecting his efforts to provide for you in big or small ways will dampen his experience. He wants you to take the throne beside him and allow him to dote on you as his queen. But he also wants to feel admired and appreciated. At this stage of his life, winning in the context of his relationship with you becomes about showing you the good life while he enjoys the same. The main thing to keep in consideration if you are with a man who has reached the king phase of his life is that you do not want to withhold appreciation or admiration. He wants to achieve a sense of winning by giving of his time, knowledge, or financial resources. I should also point out that at no point in time will he be 100% in just one of the three phases of development. He will always maintain elements of knighthood as he progresses through the other phases. He will also sometimes show a great concern for meaning and building something of lasting value, while some areas of his life still trigger his adventurous, free-spirited knighthood way of thinking and acting. Hesitant to commit. When a man in the prince stage says he is not ready to commit to a relationship, here's what he is really saying. I don't feel like I have accomplished anything in life yet. I'm going to have to work very hard and do some incredible stretching to achieve the kind of manhood, meaning, and accomplishment I desire. I don't know that I will have enough time and attention to make you happy while I am on that mission pursuing that goal. So I'm not sure that I'm really ready to promise to be there for you and to provide for you in the ways I feel driven to provide as a man. One thing you have to understand about men is that even from the time they are just little boys, they will not participate in anything they do not believe they can win at. This is not something many women understand, even women who have mothered little boys. And I encourage you not to try to understand it, but rather just accept it as a fact about how men are wired. Watch the men in your life and you will begin to realize how powerful and profound this truth is. Men will do anything they can to escape from a task, requirement, or expectation where they do not feel they can win. And that includes winning at the role of boyfriend, husband, father, or any other relationship status you might ask him to commit to. If he doesn't think he will measure up to what you want, he will say he is not ready. It's for this reason that men are much more highly motivated by small rewards that show them they are winning. We will come back to this incredibly important topic later as we discuss the ways you can mold your man's sense of meaning, purpose, and motivation to include you at its center. The power of celebrating each other's success. Debbie, a past client of mine, came home one day and said to her boyfriend, "Guess what? I got that job promotion I applied for." Her boyfriend responded with the exuberance Debbie was hoping for. "Oh man, that is so great. You must be so excited right now. We should celebrate." According to a research study published in 2006 by Shelley Gable at the University of California, Santa Barbara, the boyfriend's response is just the kind of response needed for a relationship to thrive. While most couples think of their partner as someone to be there for them emotionally during hard times, research has recently shown that sharing joy together during the good times is even more important. Joy is essential to a happy relationship. If one partner doesn't feel the other partner shares their moments of joy, then interest in the relationship begins to die off. It turns out even neutral comments like, "That's really nice, honey," can do more damage than saying nothing at all. Taking a neutral tone when someone shares their excitement, hopes, or success is actually worse than saying something negative. That's because a neutral tone suggests you don't even care enough to have an opinion. When your man feels you celebrate his progress toward goals, his deepest need for shared joy in the relationship is met. Manliness and the drive to provide. Nothing gives a man a feeling of meaning and accomplishment more than being a provider for others. It is rooted in his DNA to go out hunting and bring home something for the people he loves. In this modern era, men are feeling a bit lost. It's not uncommon for a woman to make a lot more money than her partner, and these days money can bring a pizza to your door, so the hunter feels kind of lost. Traditional gender roles in ancient times, for example, men hunting and women gathering, were based on more than just the fact that men are on average bigger and stronger than women. The differences go far deeper than that, down to the neurological level. Testosterone wires a man's brain to be far more willing to seek out risk and face physical danger in pursuit of a physical challenge. Testosterone drives men to be excited about the opportunity to test their strength against the beast 3 times their size. So it's natural that women typically stayed home tending to the young and keeping the fire going while the men went out hunting. And it may not be a very pleasant thought, but it's not just the men who were obsessed with that role. If a man wanted to be well received by a female partner, he was expected to provide. Coming home night after night with nothing to show for the hunt would not have been received well. He might end up literally losing the interest and attention of a woman who saw another man as far more capable of providing. As a result, being a provider is deeply rooted in the male psyche and DNA. Changes in the way we meet our basic needs have happened very quickly as we moved from hunting and gathering to farming, and then to the industrial age, and now the information age. Our DNA has not adapted that quickly. The men in your life still experience a powerful drive to gain your approval by being a capable provider. The irony is that men continue to pursue the provider role even in ways that now drive their female partners crazy. A man is driven by instinct to be a provider. That's true even if his efforts to be a provider cause him to work too much and spend too little time with you. And when I talk about being a provider, realize this pursuit can show up in many different ways. His drive to provide can just as easily fuel his efforts to start a rock band as an effort to start a company that sells widgets. The drive to be a provider is deeply connected with his sense of meaning and purpose. So if you want to know what fascinates a man, look at his drives. The most powerful overarching drive that goes on for years and years in your man's life is the drive to feel successful. To feel successful, he needs to win, and the place he needs to win the most is in providing. But now I'm going to tell you how to bend that drive so it works for your relationship instead of against it.